Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 105. So this is a continuation. I'm still out on that same walk from last episode. I've literally walked 10 feet before hitting the record button again. Did have to take my gloves off to press the button on the microphone though, which was freezing. And I also had to have a look at my phone to look at my little list. That's funny. I've got a list on my phone, a notepad on my front screen, like a widget. I've been adding stuff to that since, 2019. It's a toilet roll of a list. But anyway, near the top is a wonderful topic to talk about. Reducing friction. So this is incredibly helpful for people who are probably very much in their comfort zone. So for example, like you come home from work, you kick off your shoes in the same place, you go, you put your work bag down in the same place, and you go and what? What do you do? What's the first thing you do when you get in from work? Is it go see the kids if you have kids? If you don't have kids, what do you do? Do you sit on the couch, switch on the TV, or sit on the couch and open your phone? Do you put the kettle on? Do you go straight to the cupboard and start looking for snacks? We have very set patterns and routines. I'm a very routine guy. But when we're in our comfort zone, it's very hard to change. Do you know, people often, Yoda, right? There's a Yoda quote that gets used a lot. Do or do not. There is no try. The whole do or do not thing, it basically, you see a lot of personal trainers saying this, like you've got two choices, you do it or you don't do it. And they make it sound like a 50-50 decision, which is incredibly unfair because choosing to do anything is never a 50-50 decision. It is always, don't quote me on the numbers, but it is always a 75-25 decision balanced towards what you're already doing. So for example, doesn't matter. Well, no, that's not a good example because let's say you're at home and you're thinking about going for a walk, right? It's not a 50-50 decision between staying in the house or going for the walk. It's a 75% decision because it's not just staying in the house. It's staying in the house where your TV is, where there's food, where there's hot drinks, where there's company, where there's whatever, where there's heat, where there's a couch. Or going outside in the dark, in the cold, in the wet, in the rain, in the whatever. That's not a 50-50 decision, is it? Because it's unfairly balanced. It's 75% balanced towards not doing the thing. So this is where reducing friction comes in, right? It's how can we make things easier? Instead of being dependent on me trying to remember everything all the time, instead of depending on me to be the one to make sure that I force myself to do something, because that doesn't work. That's what willpower is supposed to be. Your ability to force yourself to do things that you're not doing or stop yourself from doing things you don't want to be or shouldn't be doing. It doesn't work. So what we need to do is reduce the friction. The more friction that you can reduce in life, the easier life becomes. I know I'm very conscious that I talk about myself a lot on these podcasts. It's not because I like talking about myself. I had this conversation with someone today. I have to be very conscious about talking about myself because, and this will make you laugh, but I am a massive introvert. I do not spend time with a lot of people. My best friend that I talk to the most is probably my wife. I'm a very introverted guy, and I'm happy with that. I never used to be comfortable with it. It was one of the reasons that I used to drink alcohol when out, use alcohol the way that I did. I've spent the last couple of years becoming more comfortable with who I am and my introversion. But one of the characteristics of an introvert is talking about familiar topics, talking about topics that you're knowledgeable on, and what do you know more about, than yourself or what you do or your expertise. Like, it's always easier to land on these things. So, but that's It's also easy because I can give you a lot of examples from my life, because I once had a lot of the problems that you all have, and relatability is important. Letting people know that you understand and that you've been where they've been, it helps lend, I don't know, an extra layer of credibility to the things that you're talking about. Anyway, reducing friction, right? So I have to get up early in the morning to walk the dogs, because I need to walk the dogs round the woods for an hour, go back. 9 times out of 10 I need to blow dry them. In fact, no, it's not even that. Like, most of the time I need to rinse and blow dry their legs and their bellies, because that's what happens when you walk around woods. A lot of the time I get away with just giving them a blast, and there's a very rare occasion where I get home and don't have to do anything, like tomorrow, because if it's -5 tomorrow, everything will be frozen and they won't get muddy. And then I need to come in the house, and then it's the chaos of the house. My wife's getting herself ready for work, the kids are farting about and they're not getting their showers and they're not brushing their teeth, and my youngest hasn't eaten his breakfast yet. So I've got all that drama to deal with. Now, that could be a lot of friction in the morning. So how do you reduce friction when you have to have an early start? Well, what's the easiest one? Number one, you go to your bed at a reasonable time. If you know that you have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you don't go wandering to your bed at midnight and then sit and scroll your phone for half an hour. That creates friction. We want to reduce friction. That's why I go to bed at 9 o'clock. Although it won't be tonight, it's going to be slightly later given the time it is now. But I go to my bed generally at 9 o'clock and try to be sleeping for 9:30 at the latest, and then my first alarm goes off at 5, next one at 5:15. And there's a third one at 5:30, just in case. Then I get up, come downstairs, have a coffee, sit for 20 minutes, chill with the dogs, take them for their walk. Reducing friction still. I have a little space in my garage where every day I make sure all my clothes are. So I always make sure there's a pair of pants there, a pair of socks, because that's one of the things that I don't like, having to creep about the house when everyone's sleeping, try to find underwear. What I do is, I don't mind sharing this with you because I don't wear them for very long, but I'll wear the same pants and socks all week, only for an hour, right? So technically, if I wear the same socks to walk the dog for like 55 minutes each day, by the end of a week, it's only been worn for less than 7 hours, right? In my defense. Same goes for the pants. They're technically clean every day until I get to the end of the week. But it helps me reduce friction. I go out to the garage, I grab that pile of clothes, I bring it in, I put it on, I'm ready to go for the dog walk. There's no messing around, there's no trying to drag myself out of bed because I'm too tired, there's no having to creep around the house to find clothes to wear. It's all done. Now, what things could you do to reduce friction? Well, think about the areas in your life where morning... Let's keep going with the morning, right? People talk about the morning stress and the morning rush. When I talk to my clients about morning stress and morning rush, the first thing I ask them is, what do you do the night before? Like, what do you do the night before to get prepared? What time do you go to your bed at? Do you take your phone to your bed? Do you have a TV in your room? Do you scroll? And then pretty soon what you find out is this person is doing zero preparation. Sorry, this will be noisy. This person is doing zero preparation the night before. They've not got any... They've not got school bags ready. They've not got clothes ironed. They don't have lunches packed. They don't have their own work packed. They don't have their own lunch packed or planned. They've done nothing. What have they done? They've sat on the couch, half watching the TV, half scrolling their phone. They've kept checking the time. They kept telling themselves they'll go to bed in 10 minutes. They eventually went to bed, but they didn't go to bed because they went to bed and did more scrolling because they had to read that next thing, and somebody just put up that post and, oh look, they've just been on holiday. Aren't those holiday photos lovely? Oh, this person's just went live. They're doing a makeup tutorial. I can rhyme those off because it's what my wife does. That's not coming off the top of my head. My wife came to bed last night at silly o'clock because she was watching a makeup tutorial. So, and then you dig into it and go, well, is it really a morning stress? Is it really a morning rush? I mean, it's happened, and yes, that's what happened, but it's not happening to you. You're doing that to yourself because you're doing nothing the night before. Let me ask you this, what would you prefer? A morning stress and a morning rush every morning, or would you like your mornings to be calm, relaxed, easing into them, not rushing out the door, not screaming at kids? Do you know, this is one of the reasons I got up so early, is that I'm very conscious of my son's mental health. Plural, both my sons. I'm very conscious of their mental health. I remember my life as a kid being very rushed because there was 3 of us. I was a nightmare. I was a fucking terrible child. I was the problem child. My younger brother was the favourite. Then there was my sister, who was the only girl, so she got all the special treatment too. But I remember, honestly, the aggression and the anger and the shouting and the hitting. I used to get kicked up the bum. Like, I used to run up the stairs and my dad would just catch me with the tip of his toes if I wasn't quick enough. God, imagine, you wouldn't get away with that nowadays. My goodness. But anyway, I remember everything being a rush, everything being shouting, everything, hurry up, we need to go, it's time for school, blah, blah, blah. I think that's one of the reasons that I suffered with anxiety for so long. I think it's one of the reasons that I still suffer sometimes with anxiety and panic and worry. I think it was instilled to me in childhood. Everything's a panic, everything's a rush, everything's last minute. And I don't want that for my kids. That's the reason that I, get up as early as I do, go to bed at the time that I do. If I'm well rested, everybody else has a better day. And that comes back to like the value that we place on our health, and if you struggle to go to bed at night because you're trying to milk every last minute out of the day, well, it's about building value around it. Is it really worth dragging every day out to whatever time when it's low quality time? Low quality time meaning that it doesn't add value. All you're doing is trying to delay the amount of time between you and going to work the next day, or starting the daily grind, or going through the school routine, or whatever it is. It's a delaying tactic that backfires every time, because all you're doing is depriving your body of rest. You wake up the next day tired, and then you've now got to face the day that you were trying to avoid while you're running at fucking 40%. So take a look at your life. Where can you reduce friction? Supermarket. This was something I was talking about with someone today. When I set up the personal nutrition plan on day 7, but one of the things we spoke about throughout the course was like meal planning. And this is another thing I wanted to address. You cannot have a balanced diet if you don't have food in the house. You cannot have a balanced diet if you do not go to a supermarket and make sure that you have food to select from at home. People try to lose weight, diet, etc. without going to the supermarket. They just wing it. Their strategy every day is, I'm just going to wake up each day and just try to eat less. Awesome. Let's see how far that gets you. That doesn't work. And so she is prioritizing the supermarket because we've built value around it. And for everyone else, I've leaned heavily into the vegetables thing in one of the lessons and basically said, look, you will not be able to... You might be able to lose weight, but you will not be able to maintain a lower weight without vegetables in your life. If you're overweight, it is because you have a high-calorie diet. Part of the reason you have a high-calorie diet is the absence of low-calorie foods. Vegetables dilute calories. That's a little thing I came up with a long time ago. Vegetables dilute calories. Somebody might be eating 3,000 calories a day because that's how much food they need to eat to not be hungry. But none of that's fruits and vegetables. If you don't have fruits and vegetables in your diet, all you're left with is high-calorie foods. Introduce fruits and vegetables into that person's diet, now they're getting by on 2,300 calories a day. Because the low-calorie vegetable portions they've now added to their lunch and their dinner, the fruits that they're having as snacks, have replaced a lot of the high-calorie stuff they were having. So they're eating the same quantity of food, they're now resolving their hunger, but they're doing it in much fewer calories. So how do we remove the friction around that? Well, first of all, we build value around it. We make sure you fully understand why you need to do it and how it's going to help. Then it's, okay, now supermarket. Why don't you go to the supermarket? Well, what happens is I have a drink on a Friday night, and then on Saturday morning I'm hungover. So I just phone Deliveroo and I get some rolls delivered from this cafe, and then I can't really be bothered moving from the couch. Okay. Now, let's say that that's really important to you for whatever reason. Like, alcohol is a really important part of your life and it's one of your non-negotiables and you're not willing to change. Right, so how do we fix that? If Friday night is the trigger for a lazy weekend, shall we say, what about going to the supermarket on the way home from work on a Friday? Because, picture this. Part of the reason that you order stuff on the Saturday and count down the minutes until the Chinese is open is because you don't have anything else in the house. I did a check-in with someone today she was doing her first week. She actually had a meal out and a boozy day out, I think her words were. Oh, don't know if you can hear those sirens. She had a boozy day out, but because she had been to the supermarket, because she had planned her food for the next day, she didn't do what she would usually do. She even went to the gym because she felt better. Because that's the other thing, like when people are hungover, they tend to eat like not very nutritious foods, which does not, in fact, they don't make you feel better. Far from it. In fact, it's not necessarily just the food, it's also the how much do you consume. If you're over consuming, you're going to make yourself feel worse on top of a hangover. So, she had her boozy day out and she didn't do what she normally would. In fact, she said that she had two or three slices of a pizza instead of getting a full one to herself, because that was the mindset she used to have. Well, if I'm going to eat one slice of pizza, might as well eat the whole thing, because that makes perfect sense. Then I might as well continue eating like that for the full weekend. But she didn't. She had her boozy day out. She had a few slices of pizza at night. And then the next again day, she got back to eating her planned food, just back to eating like a normal, balanced person, instead of the mindset taking over and trying to say, okay, well, you've done that now you need to write off the entire weekend. That makes perfect sense. Do that. And she checked in and she's made incredible progress through her first week. Not just because the scales are coming down. Remember, progress is measured in many different ways. And if you don't do something that you used to do, that's progress. If you used to overeat Friday through to Monday, and now you're only doing it every Friday, that's progress. Yes, it's still not ideal. Yes, you might think it's something that you don't want to be doing, but you can't take away from the fact that you've changed it. So, friction. There is friction in every area of our lives. How can you reduce it? What can you do? Jim, I don't know. I'll see if I can think of some before I wrap this up, because my fingers are falling off, even with my good gloves on. Let's say, I know a struggle for me used to be coming home from work and I had the gym like an hour later. And it was the minute you sat on that couch, it was impossible to get off it. Or coming home and having to get changed into gym gear. Like, a great thing to do is while you're still at work, take a break 5 minutes before the end of the day, go to the toilet, put your gym gear on. Reduce the friction. Oh, sorry, noisy gate again. So whatever it is, if it's getting ready for work the next day, if it's meal planning, if it's shopping, if your struggle is you don't know what to eat every week, so you just end up ordering a takeaway, do a meal plan. Once you've done the meal plan, write a shopping list to go with said meal plan. Then go to the supermarket. And if you think you don't have time, do you know what? Let's do that in next week's episode. We'll talk about time management, because that's a lesson that I've done inside the new course. And it's already helping people. Oh, right, that's enough from me. My fingers are freezing. Until next time.